I love you, ma.
So keep that coffee hot. Got some troubles to lose. Gonna live down those blues. So goodbye.
You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. The show is brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. As an American Family agent, Kim believes that there's so much more to insurance than the policy itself. It's about providing you with dependable protection and services. Kim believes that trust and credibility can't be demanded. It can only be earned by what you say and what you do. Give her a call at 651-482-1598 and tell her Gene sent you. It's time now to hear from the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. The MHA Minute is brought to you by Start to Finish Maintenance Contractors. Start to Finish provides 24-hour service for all your home and business maintenance needs. Call Start to Finish at 952-259-1219 for your home, for your business, for your peace of mind.
When you rent out your home, you automatically become a small business owner and are subject to all kinds of rules and regulations. Fair housing laws, rental licensing, CRPs, lead paint, radon, carbon dioxide, just to name a few. As someone who provides rental housing, you'll have to learn more about your community, your city council, and your law enforcement agencies than you ever imagined. But if you properly manage your business, you'll also become an important and positive partner in the community. The Minnesota Multi-Housing Association is the most comprehensive resource you'll find for everything you need to help you successfully manage your rental business. Visit mmha.com. That's two M's, mmha.com. Look around the website, download the free guide to successful property management, download the free brochure about the eviction process, and learn about the many ways you can turn your small business into a good business.
And we're going to wrap up our show today. We're talking about the recent ordinance that passed by the Culver City, California City Council that said earlier this week there's an ordinance now forbidding smoking in any shared residence in their city. If there's multi-units to it, doesn't matter whether it's a homeowners association or an apartment building with a landlord who owns it and rents it out to tenants, it's all illegal.
Would that include like a duplex or a fourplex or a townhome?
Yes, it would be any multi-unit.
So
building.
Because you have a shared wall.
If you have a shared wall,
Wow.
So if you have a 4 units. Yeah, so you think about it. You could have a duplex and you're a smoker on one side and you know the person smokes on the other.
Yeah.
You would be able to do that. And that's what seems to be so unbalanced about this whole thing, Lee, is that, they didn't say, we're going to make smoking banned for everybody in any kind of home whatsoever, because they know darn well that people living in a single-family home will say, it's my home, thank you very much, and I will do as I please. I own it, not you. And here are people who say, wait, in a condo, a townhome, I think I still own the property.
Yeah.
Now, there may be some issues with smoke traveling, and we've talked about that before on this show, and there are a number of things that you can do in a condo association to diminish the smell of traveling smoke or its smell to other people who don't like it. Because even though I've got that right in my unit, I also want to be a good neighbor. For example, I enjoy a good cigar every once in a while, and I'll go to the back of my deck at the Townhome Association where I live and light up a fine one. Now, I know on one side is my neighbor. He will join me for a cigar every once in a while. The other side is a neighbor who doesn't like the smoke. And when she's been out or she's had the windows open on a particular night, she'll come out, Gene, and I'll say, I'm so sorry. Let me put that out. Why? Because I want to be a good neighbor. But there doesn't need to be a law that says you can't do it anytime, because there are other times it's just fine.
Again, it's common sense, Gene.
It's common sense. It's something that you would expect with neighbors one with another. And as I mentioned before the break, that was exactly the pushback that the city council heard And despite the fact that they heard from a number of landlords and renters and other homeowner associations who said, you know what, I think this could best be kept with us to determine, the city said, no, you know what, as a good politician living in La La Land, we know what's best for you. And really, is that really the case? Is that the kind of what we want to have our politicians think of us, who are being governed, that they know better than us what needs to take place? As I mentioned before, in a free market, what a lot of the renters and landlords said, we can decide this ourselves. If we don't want to be in a home or in an apartment where there's the smell of smoke, we'll show that by giving our money to someone who has a smoke-free building. And if you take a look at that today, we don't have a law that says you can't smoke in an apartment building. That's self-governed. A lot of landlords said, hey, you know what? More people will rent for me if it's non-smoking. And so that kind of takes care of itself. To me, that shows the free market works. In a homeowner association, the same thing too. You don't need to have someone who'll say, no smoking for anyone. You know, we have several condominium associations here in Minnesota, and I'm proud to say I think probably some of the first around the country that have gone to be, they're a high-rise here in Minneapolis, and they are non-smoking buildings. And you know what? I celebrate them. And you say, well, how can you do that? You're a smoker, Gene. Well, more than anything else, I celebrate this idea that we have from our founding fathers called that government is instituted by men, and it says that it'll take place by something called the consent of the governed. Those of us being governed are going to give our consent to our leaders on how we want to be governed. And in several HOAs, they said, you know what? We want to make this a non-smoking building. And there is a way to do that. If you get a supermajority of the homeowners in your association to vote for that, you can change your governing documents. And that's exactly what they did. I think in the case of the couple people that were smoking, a couple people were grandfathered in. Everyone else, it's a non-smoking. And I think one building, a couple people actually moved on. It's all non-smoking. It happened peacefully. You don't need to have government step in and say, this is what we're going to do and how we're going to take care of you, because it's not needed. People can govern themselves. And, you know, in a free market, that's what you can expect. And, you know, what's interesting is the quote here. The one council member, remember I mentioned, said he wasn't for it only because he said, I don't know how this could be enforced. Someone else, another city council member, came back and said, he said, we need to remember, he said, the good is not the enemy of the perfect, meaning that although the ordinance is not perfect, it is necessary. And he said it could be enforced voluntarily by compliance. Really? So right now, the city council in Culver City said, even if we don't have the enforcement piece or any consequences in place, this is still a good law because it could still be enforced if everybody would voluntarily comply. Well, yes, I guess that's true, and everybody could voluntarily comply, and you wouldn't need to lock up banks at night, too. People will know that they'll come and put the money that they have there, and they'll never take out more than what they've put in there, right? Talk about ridiculousness with politicians. I hope the city council at Culver City comes to their senses. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend and look forward to having you here next Saturday on Where You Live.